You know, grips are on set cowboys. We are the ones who figure that stuff out. We throw ropes, we carry knives. I got wrenches and hammers.
I'm just imagining Martine and a bunch of Indiana Joneses. What's going on, Indie Muggle? Today I'm here with Martine Tournaire, and basically Martine is I said his name so freaking well.
Good.
Martine is an amazing grip that's basically worked in the industry for a really, really long time now. Tell me some of the movies that you worked on.
I've worked on a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones. I've worked on Bad Blood, Rise of the Fog People. I don't know. Tune in. No, but I've worked on The Amazing Spider-Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, literally some of the biggest movies and TV and projects out there. So today we're going to be going over the 10 essential grip tools that basically any filmmaker should use if they're trying to level up. And for each of these, we're going to talk about, first of all, what is it? How does it get used? Price and actual availability for this kind of thing. And then finally, I'm going to ask for Martine's usefulness rating of 5 stars.
Right on.
And this is basically usefulness for an indie filmmaker. Ready to do this? Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right, so first tool, I'm holding it in my hand right now. This here is a what?
That's a spud adapter.
Okay.
Also known as a junior to baby adapter.
Okay, so think of it as a pin and a receiver. This is basically a connection point for all kinds of different tools that you can use in grippage. On the other side of this, what am I looking at?
That is a junior pin, also known as an 1 1/8". And it's what you're gonna find on beefier gear. And then you'll notice that they both have a little hole at the end of either end, and that's to be able to safety.
I love
these things. You know, you can put a split pin or a cotter pin through there once you slide your lighting unit or whatever it is past that point, and that means even if it gets loose, it's not going to go anywhere.
Price point for something like this approximately runs
$20 to $30,
20 to 30
depending on
bucks.
where you get it.
And then finally, Martine, for this, what is the useful rating out of 5?
I'll tell you what, on a smaller show, I'd give that guy a 3.5 to a 4.
Okay.
Kind of high there for me too, because I'm kind of snobby about these things, but that'll turn a combo stand or a junior stand into a baby stand. So you're changing the usefulness of a stand out there by 50%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's so small, and this means that you can basically just bring one stand instead of 2 stands.
Exactly.
For a lot of people, at least.
Totally.
All right. What am I looking at?
That's a baby nylon plate.
Nylon. Why is it called nylon plate?
Well, it has these little holes in it, and that way you're able to nail them onto a set wall, onto a 2x4, onto an apple box, onto a pancake, and that way you can now mount your light, your grip head, your flag, your scrim, whatever it is, onto this standard 5/8 baby pin. But as far as usability and popularity, this is going to be one of your standard items on in a small grip package.
100%. So again, I've seen these get used all over the place. I've seen these get drilled into the wall on actual studs to actually be able to rig lights in kind of small studio setups. I've seen them also get rigged on Apple boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get put on Apple boxes, and all of a sudden you've got to really load the floor.
It's called a beaver board.
A beaver board, right on. So I see these getting used all the time. If you don't know what they are, now you know. It's called a baby plate or a nail-on plate.
One cool, easy hack using these guys, if you have like somebody holding an iPhone in frame, you put this in your C-stand and you put it right up there, and you can use it to rest somebody's elbow on there. You know what I mean? You can think of it as a surface. You know, that's pretty good one.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Pancake on there, like a 1/8. Now you have a table for the directors, a laptop for their latte, whatever it is. We do that all the time. First team or like your main talent on set, you put a little Duvetine on it so it softens it up for their soft little elbows. And the directors say, you know what?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You'll be on my next show.
Ooh.
That's that stuff right there.
Here we go. All right, so pricing. How much does this usually run?
Those things at $20.
$20. Sounds good. And finally, Martine's usefulness rating of awesomeness for indie filmmakers. A 5.
5, dude.
A hard 5.
Oh, they're so cool. They're small. You can put them anywhere. You can screw them in anywhere.
So basically every set that you go on, you have these then?
100%.
100%.
You can ratchet strap that thing to a telephone pole. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff, and it's just so simple.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, simple is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on, number 3 right here. We got this little baby clip here. What is this and what does it do?
That's a scissor clip. And it is made specifically for T-bar ceilings or drop ceilings, which you're going to find in a lot of locations you go to. You're going to find them in office buildings and schools and all sorts of places.
When you randomly wander into the Indie Mogul studio,
you might just find
a way to rig a light up there.
And it's really great for lightweight lighting, which you're finding it more and more. Once again, toolless, small, and really versatile little guy.
Absolutely. So there are, of course, weight concerns with this. As you mentioned, use lightweight lights on this kind of thing.
For sure. Test it. Use a lot of common sense.
Yeah.
It's over people's heads and it's hard to safety them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were literally grabbing onto a tiny little piece of metal that's kind of just dropping over there. But that being said, for a lot of you office shooters out there and for a lot of you corporate guys out there and for a lot of you guys shooting interviews on the go, I mean, this is really a small, lightweight tool you can just throw in your backpack.
Yeah, and you got a backlight for days with that guy.
And this way you don't have to set up a wall spreader. You have a grid up there, you're like, yeah, it's not the most secure grid in the world, but I can use that grid and rig a light to it.
Totally. And then they have these little pins that hang off of it. That's for your cabling.
So, Martine, how much does this cost and where can we find it?
It's around 20 bucks, 15 to 20 bucks. They're standard and they've been part of the industry for a very long time. So you'll also find them at any rental house you go to. Yeah. You know, you get 4 of them, just have them in the kit. Right on.
So, Martine's useful rating for indie filmmakers.
For indie filmmakers to have this in your kit, that'd probably be like a 3.
3, absolutely, yeah. Because it really just does serve one purpose.
Yeah.
It's for that one type of ceiling.
In that one type of location. When I know it's going to be something that's going to remain lightweight, that we're going to wrap it out soon, right after we take the light off, all day long, it's a way to just make things go fast.
Boom!
That's made for a man. It is made to grab onto anything, but the majority, when you look at the jaw of it, it has a square. So with square stock, and which is a lot of the overhead frames, it's a wonderful shape to hold. And another really cool thing about it is that when you pull the pin out, it can now be attached to the top of a C-stand arm. Yeah. Or you could put another adapter in here that would have a little hook in it. You know, so the cool thing about this is that it's made of components. So you start with the clamp side, and then with this little receiver, you can add different pieces and different parts. You can also put 2 of them together, and they can swivel. You know, you can lock things together. So I really think that it's a really valuable tool to have.
Yeah. Pricing right here and availability.
They're around, you know, 30 bucks, 35 bucks. And they're great. They're great to have in the kit. But I'd give it like a 2.
Ooh, I know, sorry, mate, for the 2.
I'm new school, man.
No worries, dude. I think the 5 doesn't mean anything unless you give some 2s. So
the most common place I'm going to see this is at the end of a piece of dolly track to make sure that the dolly doesn't roll off the track.
I got 3 clamps here.
Yeah.
How are these similar? How are they different?
So this is a Mathelini. A couple different things, features. The angle of the jaws are a little different, and the turn handle on the Mathelini is a little bit bigger, so you don't have to put a wrench on it. Yep. But all in all, it's a simple clamp that I can't see how you would improve it. It's so awesome. It works on round stock. It works on square stock.
So automatically you can sandwich, grab onto something, and actually attach a light here. Or you could actually put this into a stand, and you could actually rig, whether it's a bounce board or whether it's a piece of cardstock or a show card or something like that. All of that can get rigged in here as well.
Yeah.
Or table for director's latte.
Really, you got to think about who's going to get you your next job.
Basically.
And then there's different different versions of it. This one is an end jaw.
Yeah.
It's in the name. The jaw is at the end. So if you want to rig something up against a wall, this is super low profile. So you can put it right up against a banister. You could hook this up to a pancake, and now you have something to mount a light onto. If you don't have a screw gun, if you're not able to put that nylon plate we were talking about under, that's going to be a really quick way to mount a light very low.
This one's a little baby.
It's not only cute, it's really useful.
He's very cute, honestly. I kind of want to put some googly eyes on him and put him on my desk.
That's a really good idea. But now the lights are getting so much smaller, you know, and everything's getting so much more compact and so much more lightweight. You can bite the visor in a car and put a tiny little LED light on there. It has a...
It's also a 1/4-20, so you could also rig something like a monitor.
Totally.
Like camera accessories and stuff
camera
like
accessories,
that.
You see these coming off of camera handles.
Again, modular, modular, modular. The main
and
idea
also,
here.
how gratifying is that?
Ooh, you gotta put it into the microphone. You gotta
there
put
we
it
go.
Hold on a second. For a center job Mathelini, how much?
For a center jaw Mathelini, they're like from 60 bucks to 75 bucks for the whole family of them.
Martine's usefulness rating of 5 stars. What is it?
Shoot, man, I don't want to be giving 5s out all day long, but I use these all day long.
You've got to give this a 5.
I got to give it a 5, man.
Yeah, this is probably the most used clamp on any film set, period.
Yeah, I use the end jaws a lot more because they have that low profile.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, anything that a mid jaw can do, an end jaw can do as well.
All right, moving on. This one right here. Actually, I think a lot of indie filmmakers know what this is, but break it down real quick.
It's a bead board holder, also known as a quacker clamp, a platypus,
a duckbill,
lips, a duckbill, onky bonk. Onky bonk, say it, and it'll hold your cardstock, it'll hold your bounces. Once again, also, you put it on the ground like that, and you got a beaver board. You got a low way to mount a stand, or you can clamp it to the 8th apple or a pancake, and you have a pin that comes off of it.
For a lot of you guys out there that are maybe thinking about using beadboard or reflectors and stuff like that and want to basically start bouncing lights instead of bringing a second light every single time, basically this is really sort of the industry standard go-to tool.
If you're actually bouncing a key light for a fill, as that key light gets brighter, that bounce is going to get brighter. You're going to keep your lighting ratios by using a bounce. I think bounce light is the prettiest light. Never been on a grip truck without them.
Gotcha. Sounds good. So real quick, these ones, how much do they run?
It's around $100.
$100, right on. Martine's useful rating.
I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Good ratings. Here we go. Yeah. And the reason for that?
It's really, really useful, but there's also other things that'll do it. Like I could take it, my Mathlini and also hold a bead board, but I couldn't take the bead board holder and do what that Mathlini does. Yeah. You know, so the interchangeability of things and being able to do multiple jobs for me has a big to do with my ratings.
If you had to pick one, pick the one that can do more jobs, right?
Always. Oh,
what is this death-looking tool? What does it do? So what is it called?
Not everybody knows about this.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a chain vice grip. And it's a vice grip with a chain on it.
And just like it's weird looking, it is meant to grab onto weird looking things.
Totally, 100%. Yes. And it has a 5/8 baby pin welded off one end, and it's made to be able to rig things onto really awkward shaped posts, you know, whatever it is. You know, if you put rubber matting around a tree branch, you can use this to get around it. Make sure you don't damage the trees, because hey, the trees are our friends.
Come on, man. Absolutely.
You know, that's right. It's something that's really cool. It's something that people don't know about, and then once they see it and they use it once or twice, you're itching to use it again. You're like, ooh, maybe we can use a chain vice grip because they're fun to use.
Maybe this is like a problem-solving tool.
Problem-solving.
We have a problem. We need to put a light on this tree branch.
And a lot of times it's like, we ran out of everything else also. You're like, we ran out of everything else, but we have this guy, and this will do what a lot of the other things will do. So it's really valuable to bring it out. One thing you got to know about using this guy, especially if you're just starting to use it, is that it's always going to win. So if you're trying to attach something to the leg of somebody's fancy table, you're going to wreck it. Like, make sure that you start off real light and then clamp it on. And then if it's not holding, loosen it, clamp it on again, tighten it a bit. You know, take caution, because I've seen a lot of locations, people lose their minds when they see us using these chain vice grips, because they dimple everything and it'll mark stuff up. So, you know, you always want to be sure that people are going to let you film places again.
So, pricing.
This is around like $85, $80.
And Martine's usefulness rating in terms of how often do you actually use this tool?
You know what? It doesn't come out all the time, but when it comes out, it's a champ. I'd give it like a 3.5.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Grid clamps. What are these? What do they do?
Grid clamps are really cool. They're made to go up in a grid. If you have the luxury of having pipe overhead, or if you're doing like a car rig that you're using speed rail with, or steel pipe, if you're building any type of rig, these are amazing clamps. You open it up, you close it over your pipe, and now you have a junior receiver. And you can hang your lights on it. You can use it for car rigging. You could put a spud adapter in there and have a baby pin come out of it.
Yeah. So this is basically the standard way to attach to grids and speed rails. So when you go into a studio and you look up and there's that big grid design up there, this is really the standard way to get up there, drop some lights on there.
Totally. Yeah. And you can loosen it and slide back and forth on the rail or on the pipe to be able to fine tune to get the positioning correct. Yeah. And you're gonna find a bunch of different receivers on it.
Also, as opposed to usual clamps, the design of this goes full 360. So the chance of the pipe slipping out or something like that.
Totally.
This is a more permanent solution for that.
It actually cuffs the entire pipe, so it's gonna be, that's gonna really help it from rolling. Yeah. You know, since you're grabbing the entire thing.
So, pricing?
$60, $65.
For indie filmmakers, actual rating out of 5.
I'd drop it down to like 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, because those same clamps that we were talking about previously, the Mathlini, especially with smaller lighting units and stuff like that, if you're not going to be doing like big show rigging and stuff like that. If you're doing smaller projects that are on a different location every day, I think that the other clamps that we've talked about before might be a little bit more useful for you.
Looking at our next thing now, this looks pretty similar again to the pipe clamps, but
Yeah.
it is different for one key reason. What is that?
These guys are made to connect pipe with pipe. So you use this to build a cage, to build a grid above the stage. When you're building a fly swatter, which is like an overhead frame that you attach to some sort of lift, like a cherry picker, a condor lift. This one is fixed. It means that it's in this orientation.
If you want a right angle with your pipes, perpendicular.
Yeah. Perpendicular angle. And then you got these guys, which are going to swivel and give you whichever angle that those pipes intersect at.
Yeah.
This is going to be your choice.
Gotcha.
Rigging crew on their truck, they're going to have 10 crates full of these things.
What's the price on this?
They're around $60 a piece.
Usefulness rating for indie filmmakers.
I'd give it a 2.
About a 2, yeah.
About 2, because you know it's. I just don't see it being something you're going to be pulling out of the toolbox every day.
Yeah, it is a building block for bigger sets. It is a building block. You'll see it on basically every big movie. But for you indie guys out there, unless you're trying to build a grid, not really necessary.
It's not something that I would want to lug around every day just in case he's. You know, it's
you're
not.
telling me you
something-
don't want this as a keychain? It'd
No,
be pretty
just
great. Talking about our last and final building block of grip essentials. What is this?
This is a C-clamp. And
Okay.
a C-clamp is super useful for location shooting.
Yeah.
This is something that you are going to be able to attach to an overhead beam, to a handrail, to a signpost.
When you actually have like exposed wooden beams up
Yeah.
there, you can use those exposed wooden beams as a grid.
Totally.
By using this
and a
kind of
lot of
stuff as
times
well.
what you want to do is put cribbing. So you're not ruining these beams. You'll put 2 pieces of wood, sandwich them in between these jaws so that you're sandwiching, so you're not actually digging into the wood. You'll have an I-beam. It'll be a metal I-beam or something, and it comes down, and then it'll have a lip.
Yeah.
These jaws are able to get beyond that lip and then bite the actual eye part of the beam. And that's a lot of the times why you use these, where your Mathelini won't be able to do that. Another really cool use for this is to run cable.
Pricing, what are we looking at?
That's going to run you around $40.
Martine, usefulness rating for indie filmmakers.
I'd give it a 2.
2, right on.
Right around 2, just because it's, you know, it's cool for locations. If you do have a couple of these in your truck, they really could come in use when you're at a warehouse location, where you're somewhere where you're going to be able to bite onto a big wooden beam, a big steel beam.
So that does wrap up 10 of the kind of essential grip tools, but we did forget one that I think is a real essential.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be. I'd be embarrassed to leave here without talking about the grip to ground adapter.
What is the grip to ground? Are you talking about the butt to ground adapter?
It's for me most of the time, or it's like the latte to ground adapter as well.
Oh, the latte to ground adapter. Yeah, I think I've heard about this.
It's the Apple box, baby. It is a box that is made to support all sorts of things on set. It's used to put underneath an actor to make him look a little bit taller. It's used to put underneath dolly track to be able to level it out.
So there's a full, there's a half, there's a quarter, there's an eighth. I've seen people put cameras on them. Of course, you put a hi-hat
All
here
day
with
long.
a camera
Everybody
on it.
sits on them.
Anytime that you want a low position, but you want it a little bit off the ground, I see that all the time too.
Yeah, and they're really important, and without talking about them today would be a real shame.
Yeah, I think we spent a lot of time talking about Legos and the building blocks of grip. These are the literal Legos. So again, these right here, they run about $50 per box. Again, I know that sounds steep for a lot of people for a block of wood, but again, this is something that's going to last forever. All right, Martine. Box of wood, usefulness rating.
I'm gonna give it a 6, guys. I'm gonna break it. The top of the thermometer just exploded, and we're giving this guy a 6.
Oh, but you can't do that.
Give it a 6. This one goes to 11. After 17 years, I'm pretty sure this is indented in the structure of my body now.
Yes.
At the end of the day, like, that's what we end up looking for, because these people will take these everywhere.
What are you talking about? Yeah, people actually do that. People actually do that.
People take Apple boxes to go, like, they're like, well, I needed a quiet room to go do revisions on next episode's script.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, well, we got to go find these Apple boxes because people will take them. We'll lend them out to people. And then they'll be in a part of the house we never shot in. They'll be in someone's back closet.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, why is this even here? And then I say, I remember the person that took it. And guess what? We are revoking their Apple box privilege. And they're no longer, and then they come the next day and they're like, hey, can I borrow that box again? I'm like, no, just go get the one that you borrowed yesterday. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, exactly. What do I mean? And then it starts something that for the next 14 years, it can affect your career.
Okay, all right. So again, 10 kind of essential grip tools for actually building up, leveling up for you indie filmmakers out there that want to start using the pro tools, want to understand how people actually do it on the higher level. This is that right there, and this is that starting place. So, of course, we got a podcast as well where we cover and actually talk about Martine's kind of journey in gripping. We actually talk about some advice, too, coming up if you're actually starting up as a filmmaker as well. So we'll put that in the podcast link down below. But I'm Ted. This is Indie Mogul. Thank you so much for watching this. Of course, catch you guys next time. I will say that most filmmakers have this revelation the first time that they see a wall spreader. The day that they see what a wall spreader is, they're like,
when I saw the key grip was like, let's test this, and he did a pull-up in the middle of this like $1 million mansion on a wall spreader, and I heard when he cranked on the wall spreader, I heard the joist go, I was like, whoa, dude, we can do anything we want.